Hi, I'm Annika Johnsons from Al Johnson's in Sister Bay. I hope you enjoy my new video series called Door County Girl. These are stories of my life, the people and places that I love, and of course how we all survive here in northern Wisconsin. You can come back as often as you like, but don't forget to subscribe to Al's YouTube channel. I'll be posting lots of really cool new videos. So let's go! Welcome back to Door County Girl, everybody. I'm in front of Al Johnson's Swedish restaurant, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is I'm out here on the street, and look how dead it is. There's like nobody on the street. That's why we're closed on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays during this winter until about the middle of February. Otherwise, we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 7 to 3. So that's what. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is this stone planter. And a lot of people always wonder how come we cut down the trees. Well, we didn't really want to cut down the trees. We like trees. We wish we had more trees. However, when the village came in to redo the sidewalk and the sewer and water and all that stuff, they had to cut the trees down to widen out the sidewalks. So we were actually forced to cut the trees down. So we had to find something to replace it. And my mom wanted to build this beautiful wall that there's not too many great masons around anymore. JB, which was John Bastian, he was one of them. Let's see, City, I can't remember his, Marston Anderson, who passed away. I want to say his name is Bloat. Everybody in Door County will know who Bloat is, but he's a City. I just can't remember his first name because everybody up here has a nickname. And JB is John Bastian. So all three of them passed away. Helen Anderson, who we had a little fika episode with, her husband is a Mason, and his father was a Mason, and his father has passed away. And Mike kind of took on the tradition, and my mom thinks he does fabulous work. And he's believes Swedish too, and German, and he believes in good work. And he did this beautiful stone planter in place of the trees. And my mom and I try to keep everything green in the front. She sticks all these little branches in, and now I do it because she can't always do it. But my mom has Joy up at Jerry's Flower Shop up in Sister Bay. She plants all the, she usually orders the flowers, and then Rachel Shomo, or Rachel Hammersmith, she has a little garden business, and then she comes here and she plants them all. So it's kind of a group effort, and it looks beautiful in the summer. It's kind of sad in the fall when the flowers are really big and gorgeous and it's still warm out, and now we have to rip them out. But now they're the biggest they've ever been, and here they go. But so that's my job. I do a little bit of that, and then it's a little desolate out here. A lot of people get nervous about this curbside pickup only when I'm working over in the pop-up. We are open. The curbside pickup only means parking people. You can come on in 7 to 3. Yeah. So curbside you can still do. We have 920-421-4257, easy peasy. We got a little barricade here, even though I have the front door open. And I'm not wearing a mask today because I'm basically the only one in here. We got a little pump. You can pump it up a little. We have to write a sign that says "Pump it, people," because they all just stand here. Pump it. Yeah. Masks required, but not today. All right, so this is the lobby. This is usually where, when we come in, we have a very, very packed and busy lobby, but now with COVID, of course, it's not that way, and never in the winter. But that's our little podium there, and I was the hostess probably since I was 12 years old. So I learned how to do the door, meaning take names and try to guesstimate people. Guesstimate, it's not accurate, but we try to tell you how long the wait's gonna be. I know a lot of people, angry people, say, well, you told us it was going to be this, and I'm like, yep, it's a guesstimate. So, yeah, my guesstimate. One of my jobs here is to clean the bathrooms, which I like to be extra tidy, tidy, tidy. I am a Swedish death cleaner because my mom is and always was. And I always show all my hosts and hostess how to clean because they come in and clean and then I have to re-clean. So I have to tell them that clean is clean and dirty is dirty and there's no in between. So I just make them redo it until they do it the right way. And then I go in and inspect. I don't mind cleaning. I like cleaning. I do a little Swedish death cleaning at home sometimes. All right, so this is the area that usually doesn't exist. We usually have benches in here and people are sitting and relaxing. They can go into the gift shop and they can buy things in the gift shop or look around, read some books while they're waiting like I do at Barnes and Nobles in Green Bay. My favorite thing to do, get a cup of coffee and just lay down in an aisle and start reading books. So we don't shy away from that here. Cashier booth here. Okay, so now that we're inside, it's a little warm in here now. It's warm outside actually for this time of year. So these tables are not our original tables. We used to have these white Formica tables, and I have one on my porch that's falling down at the farm where I'm kind of trying to save it and use it in the summertime. But I had these big metal pedestals underneath, and when we were little kids, Rolf and I used to try to hide under the tables and bang on them with forks and knives, and we did cause a ruckus in here. It was kind of fun in here because it was not as busy and it was like a playground. For us coming in here and knowing all the waitresses and waiters, we didn't have waiters, busboys, some of them babysat for us, so it was kind of fun to come in here and meet everybody and goof around with everybody. But we don't have those tables anymore, and we had the orange chairs that were by Krieger Chair Company in Green Bay, and the reason we can't get those anymore is because they don't carry the molds anymore. We would get those chairs in a heartbeat if they made them in a wood grain finish because they stack great, they're lightweight, we love them, they're retro. We don't like a lot of change, although we do it, we don't always love it. So the orange bucket chairs and the orange salmon pink colored chairs are in storage, which I'm really bummed about. But these are our replacements and they're really heavy and I don't love them, but it is what it is. Up here, this little area used to be our cashier stand. So when you came in, instead of coming in where I came in the lobby, that did not exist. This was just one building right here. And then there was a separate building next door that had the boutique in it. So you had to actually go outside to go into the boutique, which was a small house. So over here, this was the cashier stand, and June Katursky, who was my dad's secretary, was our cashier most of the time, and I loved her, and I loved coming up here and hanging out. And my favorite thing to do was help her wrap tips. Now we just put tips in the tip envelopes at the end of the night when they get credit card tips. But June used to take receipt journal and she'd give me the money with the coin and I'd wrap it up like a little present and then we'd put it in the girls' envelopes at the end of the day. It was kind of fun. And then they had that little toothpick holder. I know most of you remember it was clear and it had a little handle and it was wooden and you could get toothpicks out of it and they were never wrapped. You just got toothpicks. And we would take straws and we would shoot them at everybody when they were walking around in here. Rolf and I were pretty bad. So anyhow, until we got kicked out of here. We got kicked out of here quite a bit, just so you know. My dad didn't want us in here if we were goofing around. My mom was busy in the gift shop. So in here, the front door was right here. This was our front door, right here. And the only window seats were that window over there and that window over there. And right in front of the front door, which is two double doors, this was like a little linoleumed area. And that's where everybody waited for the tables. We didn't have a lobby. We just stood here and waited, or they waited right outside here on some benches. But there was no waiting room, and that was the cashier stand, and that's where you come and go, and you pay here. And there were just two tables here, two tables there, and the rest was all back there. So everybody got the kitchen view, or the bathroom view, not the window view. So that is that. And at night, in here right now, it's dead. We're closed. But I like to come in here when we're dead because it's quiet. I can make a pot of coffee. People know the back door is open. We can have a little chat. We make ourselves a little eggs or some kind of snack in the back. And at night, Rolf, my brother, and Tom Wilson, who was our dentist, who is now retired, and he worked at Washington Island as well. His wife was Gunilla. She worked in the gift shop as our manager forever and ever and ever. And my dad always called Gunilla his right-hand gal. So we come in here at night. This is my table. I sit right here. And Rolf sits right at that table right there. And then Tom Wilson sits over there. And then we all just sit here and talk, and we have the coffee pot there. We talk about everything and everyone. So don't worry, you're all on our list. We all talk about you. In a good way, though. Always in a good way.
Wait a minute, this is my table.
And now I'm walking over here, and look at who's here.
How are you?
Tom is here from the Gibraltar Grill, and he comes in, and you know what Tom always orders? A hot turkey sandwich, and he gets a iced tea in a what do we call those big?
Silver bullet.
A silver bullet, which is our old milkshake containers. So anytime somebody drinks a lot of those, we make sure they get the silver bullet. And this is Norbert Bly's old table, who was our writer up here. He always sat at this table in the corner, and he had his little entourage. But now that we're not open and it's not busy, Lars comes in here in the winter, and this is his little office where he does all his work. And now in this time of year, it's so slow that, see, I mean, Tom's not having a silver bullet.
He's having a Pepsi today. Having a Pepsi.
Well, not in a silver bullet.
No, he didn't.
Lars doesn't know these things. We have to teach him. Okay. So yeah, this is where the meeting of the minds happen, and
That's right.
Tom loves Julie Corden as a waitress, just so we know. Thumbs up to Julie. Okay, so this is the counter, and I'm going to go behind the counter because I'm going to show you something. This cooler has been in here since it was a grocery store. So we never took it out of here. Sometimes we have trouble with it, but it's the old cooler. Sometimes we have to defrost it where it gets all bogged down with ice, and we have to take everything out and clean it and open the doors. But this is old as the hills, and we don't get rid of it because we love it, and it looks good in here, I think. But that's our cooler. And there's not a lot of things in here that are original, but that is original. The counter is original. We maybe did a little bit to it, but underneath is original. We added a couple fancy drawers instead. It's new. This area right here used to be a little memorabilia area where we had my dad's best friends and some of my dad's favorite people were framed and put up on the wall here. And one of them was Norbert Bly, and the other one was Robbie Kadanko, who that was my favorite picture because that would be Jake Kadanko's brother, and my dad and him were best friends, and we love Jake Kadanko as well. And now they both have passed away. And story is, Robbie was a fisherman, and he was out on the ice checking nets, and they drove their truck out there, and the truck went through, and Robbie got caught up in the fish nets. And the other two guys got out, but they couldn't get him out, and it was really cold out. So he ended up drowning out there, and my dad was just devastated. So we had this picture of Robbie. It's a classic, an old truck with his fish name on the side, and he's hanging out, and he's laughing and smiling, and it's so nice to see because my dad said he was quite the character. He was always pranking and jokester and always doing things. So I didn't know him, but I like to envision him that way. It's pretty cool. The picture of Norbert Bly was always right up here, and it was done in a caricature form, and it was Mike McCurdy who did the picture, and I believe it's Norbert holding up a cup of coffee and reading the newspaper. So this was his chair at the counter right here, the first chair. So there's a lot of people that get territorial in here about where they sit. This chair was Norb's chair in the afternoon. Now people don't always come in at the same time. Everybody has different times where they come in. So I'm going to walk over here around the counter, and this table here is now a small table. But this used to be a large table together, two of these pushed together, and we would have coffee customers that come in, and this is the coffee table. So we have nicknames in the dining room for all the tables in here. Coffee table, that's the clock, that's the hutch, that's the pop-up by the door, that's the round pop-up, that's the slant. I mean, that's the three-top. There was a table right there in the corner where my dad's picture is, and it was just a little two-top, and we called it a two-top. And the person that sat there at all times was Bill Beckstrom. Now, a lot of you don't know Bill Beckstrom, but when you're driving around in most of the old school houses, everyone's family that I knew had a sign that was made by Bill Beckstrom that said, the Johnson family, or the Gustafson family, or the Larson family, or the Bastian family. All those signs that you see that are wood, that have the rounded lettering that are kind of engraved, that's Bill Beckstrom. And he was a grumpy, grumpy man in here, but we all loved him. And I think he liked to be grumpy on purpose, but he was one of those really fun guys that you pick on him and he picks on you, but we all love each other. And my mom and dad just loved Bill Beckstrom. He was a classic carpenter. This table here, the early birds, we're open at 6. So all the 6 o'clockers come in, and the one that sat in this chair right here that I will always remember the best is, okay, there's 2 I'm gonna mention. Floyd used to live in the house that I bought that's right in between the funeral home and the boathouse. So that is my rental home that I own, but that used to be where Floyd lived. Now, Floyd was our coffee customer. He would come in here every day, sit in this chair, and in the morning, he would come in, have a cup of coffee. Coffee was cheap. I think it was a quarter. And he would stand a dime up for the tip. I mean, you know how hard it is? All of you people need to try to stand a dime up. This guy was in his 80s, and he could stand a dime up on the first try, and all of us waitresses would get that tip, a standing up dime. It's hard. I could hardly do it myself. It took me many tries. But he'd come in the morning, he would come in the afternoon, and right before we closed. 3 times a day, sat in this chair, and always had this cup of coffee. This was Norbert's chair. The other person that would come in at 6 a.m., he was the first one in every single morning. It didn't matter, rain or shine, snow, whatever. He's here before the waitress is here. That kind of drives everybody crazy. But now we look back and we laugh about it because they're colorful characters. I love them. It would be no fun to come to work if you didn't have all these crazies that you love, you know. So Clifford Mickelson is one of my favorite people on the planet. His wife was the one that you would only go to if you needed a birthday cake. She baked everybody's birthday cakes up here. They lived right down the street from the Sister Bay Bowl on Maple Drive. They had a little house there, and she was the best baker ever. Her daughters and Cliff's daughters both worked here. They were twins. I believe they were twins. I could be wrong, but they both worked here and as waitresses. But Cliff sat in this chair, 6 a.m., but he was always at the front door at 5:45 a.m., standing out there. So you'd feel guilty by not letting him in, so we'd have to come in at 5:30 just to get the coffee ready for Cliffy, because Cliffy wanted in. He wanted in before we opened. So that was my favorite memory of Cliff. This table that you put together, our very, very, very first coffee customer at 6 a.m. in the morning, is another one of my favorites. Bud Overby. And now all these people have passed away. Bud Overby was a truck driver, a dump truck driver up here for RBH, is it called, I think, and Howard City. They both have passed away now. But Mr. Overby would come in here, and we shared the same birthday, May 17th. And he was very quiet, but I loved him because he always sat in the same chair. That was his chair on the end over there looking this way. He didn't want to look outside. He wanted to look this way. So he would be the first person in. And then as the morning went on, the early coffee customers would come in, a lot of them. Then you get a second round at 8 o'clock. Those people all leave, and another round come in. And those are the Bill Bastians, Al Johnson sat right at the head of the chair here, and Bill Bastian would always sit right next to him. And then he'd have an entourage of other people here sitting with him having coffee every day at 8 o'clock. I think 7, they would come in, and then they would be gone by 8:30. Then the third round of people would come in. Those are the decaf drinkers. We call them, we have nicknames for everybody, by the way. So these are the decaffers. And the decaffers would come in like Don Johnson and Frank Howe, John Lagerlof. I'm going to miss some names, but this was their time. And so we always put cookies and stuff on the table for the coffee drinkers. They just love that. And we'd sit and talk to them, and all they want is coffee. And then when they would leave on Thursdays, this table right here, because they don't want to sit at this table, that's the golfers. All the golf guys sat at this table. And then they all would sit there and talk, but in the summertime, none of these people would hardly come in because we were too busy, because they came in later. They had another haunt where they would go and have coffee, but not the early birds. They always sat here. When I was a little kid, and I used to come in here in the afternoon, June Kotursky, who was our cashier that I talked about earlier, that was my dad's secretary, she had all her lady friends come in here. And listen, you could smoke in here. There was a haze in here of smoke. Every single table had an ashtray. A big ashtray, and part of our job was to clean out the ashtray when we were cleaning the tables. And they all smoked, these ladies. They all sat here. Barbara Jacobson, Arlene Champeau, Dorothy Bastian, June Kotursky, Karen Landstrom. I mean, you name it. These ladies were here. They would bring in little goodies like lemon bars and cookies, and they would all have coffee here at about, I want to say 3 o'clock, 3:30. So that was our little bit of a early afternoon. And then later afternoon again, it would be Bill Bastian and my dad and all his little friends again at 4 o'clock before we got busy for dinner. So coffee, which I like to call fika, fika time can be any time. It can be 6 a.m., it can be 7, 8, 9, 10, but we have different rounds every time. So all us waitresses know that we have to have certain coffees available. We don't even ask them. We already know what they drink. We don't have to ask them if they want decaf, because we already know. It's like tradition. So I'm going to walk over here. This is our salad bar area, and it's not a salad bar where you can come and help yourself. You just come over here and you call in your order. So if I need like 5 salads and they were like a French, 1,000, a blue cheese, or a ranch, I'd say 3 French, 2 blue cheese, 1,000. They usually get a bread tray, bread for 6, and then I'd call in like 1 iced tea, 1 lemonade, 1 orange juice. Or we'd call in our pies here or our desserts, things like that. So they would just give it to us and we'd put it up there. In the ice chest there, we would put up our little drinks, and then they'd fill them up for us, and we'd get them on a tray and we just bring them out to the tables. So the salad bar area isn't something you can self-serve, it's something that they help us serve. And I'm going to show you something funny because I know that we passed it up, but you have to see how small the bathroom is. Come on. So this used to be the bathroom for everybody. Can you believe it? So the whole dining room, before we had bathrooms in the lobby, the ladies had to use this tiny 1-stall bathroom. I think it's hilarious. And I remember there was always a line out here because there's always a line in the ladies' room, people, but never in the men's room. That's why we go use the men's room sometimes when we're at the bars. And I know you ladies do that because I do it sometimes. So my favorite corner here is this corner over here. And you're probably going to wonder why I have this picture up here. This is my dad, and I got him this bike for his Father's Day present one time. And then eventually my brother Rolf got him 2 big baskets to put on the back of his bike because he rode his bike everywhere. He loved it. It was like a big black beach cruiser, like a Schwinn. And I got it from the Fish Creek Bike Shop a long time ago. And he loved that bike. Doesn't have any gears. You just get on it, you ride it. It's got a brake on the pedal, forward, no gears. He wasn't riding up any hills. He just wanted to go back and forth from the house without having to deal with the traffic. How did I get this picture? Well, this is a classic picture because my dad always wore those pants, and maybe he has 10 pair in that color. I mean, My dad only wore one kind of pants. I don't know the brand. And he only wore certain shirts. So he only had certain shirts and one blue Izod sweater. But this picture here, he was riding his bike and I was waiting on a table right here. And this man said to me, hey, do you want to see a good picture of your dad? And I said, yeah, I would love to. And my dad had already passed away. No, he was alive then. He was alive then. Pretty sure. And he goes, look at this picture I have of your dad. And he showed it to me on his camera. And he goes, do you want a copy? And I said, oh my God, I would love a copy. That's the best picture ever. I gave him that bike for Father's Day. And he gave me a picture. And then shortly after that, my dad had passed away. And they wanted some picture to represent my dad and how he really is. Because, you know, my dad's not a fancy pants kind of guy. He could dress up if he has to. He knows. You dress up for funerals and weddings. You just do. But he liked to dress casually, and he always wore the same shoes. We all have that wide feet problem in our family. Anyway, I blew up this picture, and we had it at his funeral service up front, because I could put a picture of my dad dressed up in a suit and a tie and looking all dapper and great. We had one of those too, but this is who he really was. This is someone that was Al Johnson. It wasn't something in a suit and a tie. He had a blue rag in his hand and he was running around bussing tables. I mean, this is who I look up to, and I followed around here and I said, I'm gonna be faster than him someday, clearing and bussing a table. And I already am. He might argue with me right now that I'll never be as fast as him, but I think I am now. Thanks for watching Door County Girl. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.